Hello, this is I Bring It Every Day, and here are some. This is good. Actually, I got requested to do a quick tutorial, and hopefully this will make sense, of a basic granny square. And these are some granny squares that I used scrap yarn for, and I haven't sewn them together. These are massive. You don't have to do this many rows. Once you get used to them, they kind of, once you understand the pattern, you can just fly through them. And it's good, like if you watch TV, you can actually put together a granny square. All right, so this is what you're going to need to get started. So this is the 4-row granny square that we're going to do today, and we're going to be changing colors in between. So it's white on the outside, purple, teal, and neon green in the center. And we're going to start with the neon green. This is a medium or worsted weight yarn. You're going to also need some scissors and then a yarn needle for weaving at the very, very end. And I'm using worsted weight, which is a medium weight yarn, which is pretty simple for beginners. I'm using a 5.5 millimeter hook. And then what we're starting is with a slip knot. And there's many tutorials on how to do that, but you just want to get the yarn onto the hook. Then we're going to chain 4. And the first loop on the hook doesn't count, but you're going to count back 4. You're going to yarn over and pull through both loops. And it's going to produce this ring. And that's a slip stitch, by the way. Okay. Now, you're going to chain 3. And we're going to yarn over and make a double crochet back into the loop. So that first stitch counts as the first double crochet. Now we're going to yarn over and do it again. Going to pull up a loop. You got 3 on your hook. Yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, pull through 2. And now you've got 2 double crochets. Now you're going to do 1 more double crochet for a total of 3 in a row. So you got 3 double crochets. Now you're going to chain 2. And you're going to repeat and do 3 more double crochets back into that loop. And then you're going to chain 2. So you're essentially going to have 4 sets of 3 double crochets in a row separated by chain 2s. And then what you're going to do is slip stitch at the end of the row. And if you just check out the video and just follow the steps, and I'm just going to show you after each step. So you're essentially doing 4 corners here. And so I'm just going to continue working. But you're doing 3 double crochet, chain 2, 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 and then you connect the ends with a slip stitch, and that will make the perfect square. Okay, so now I'm chaining 2 the last one, and then I'm going to do a slip stitch, and on that 3rd stitch from the bottom of the row, you want to do a slip stitch through that. So you're just going to yarn over, pull through both of the stitches, and it's going to make this beautiful square. And I'm just going to let you take a look. So that's the end of row 1. So now what you're going to do is you can clip your green yarn here. And then what you have to do is you have to pull, yarn over, and pull the yarn through that last stitch, and that seals it off. And then we're going to get ready for the next color. There's a chain 2 space in each corner, and then the opening where the ring started. And that's why I do the chain 4, because it's not real big, but it's actually pretty decent. But you know, if you're a beginner, it's not a big deal. But that's the first row. Now we're going to move on to the second row. And then we're going to be using blue. I'm going to show you how to change color. And I'm just pointing out here in the illustration that the blue is going to make this sort of a braided, looks like butterflies. And the first row is going to turn into a cross once you add on the blue or the second row. And you'll see this in just a moment. Okay. Now what we're going to start is with the slip knot. Again, this is how I change color. So I'm taking the blue yarn, making the slip knot. And then as you see in the first row, there's chain 2 spaces in each corner. You can pick any corner and start. I'm right-handed, so I'm going in the right. Then I'm going to take that and do a slip stitch, just pulling the yarn straight through both the square and the slip knot. That's going to count as 1. And then you chain 2. So that's the chain 3 that you start with that we did in the first row. Then you're going to go back into that chain 2 space and do 2 more double crochets. And I'm doing this purposely slow, so if you need to speed it up, you can, using the cog. So we're going to do that corner cluster where you do the equivalent of 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets in that same space. And that's the corner. So we just completed the corner, and I'm just illustrating what it looks like. So you're going to chain 1. And then you're going to go and start the second corner. So you have to do the 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets into the next chain 2 space. And I'm just illustrating that right now. All right, so this is what the second corner looks like. And then what we're going to do is we're going to continue to the next corner, but you have to do a chain 1 and then repeat 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets in that chain 2 space. So this is the third corner, and this is what it looks like. So I'm just showing you what it looks like. And then we're going to go to the fourth corner. So you got to chain 1 again. And then guess what? We're going to repeat. You're going to do 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets into that chain 2 space. And I'm doing this very slowly, and this is for absolute beginners, but if you need to speed up, you can speed the recording up using the cog in the, or using your finger to fast forward through if you need to. And make sure you maintain your tension. And I think that's the nicest thing about doing these. You could, if you're a beginner, you can speed through these, but if you take your time, your tension will be nice and it won't be wobbly. And that's the best thing I could suggest as a tip for people who are beginners. So now I'm doing a slip stitch into that first double crochet there. So this is what the second row looks like. Congratulations. You've done 2 rows. You can, if you're changing colors, you can, snip it right there and then slip stitch or pull the yarn through that last stitch. And there it is, rows 1 and 2. And it's definitely easier to see if you're using multiple colors. But later on, if you decide, you can just continue and just do 1 color, just as a suggestion, if you feel so moved. All right, so we're moving on to the third row, and we're going to use purple for this one. And we're going to start out exactly the same way as we started out in the first 2 rows. So this is, once again, this is the way I change the colors. And then I'm just comparing the 2 granny squares, the one in progress to the one that's finished, just so you can see how it's coming together. All right, so now we start again with the slip knot with the purple. And then, like I say, I attach it in the corner. I'm right-handed, so I like the right corner because that's what I'm doing. And that way it's kind of a consistent. And you'll find your way as you go along in this thing. There's different things. A lot of times people like to weave in the ends. You can do that as you go along. I'm not going to do that for purposes of this video, but I'm going to do it at the end, and I'll show you what it looks like. But anyway, getting back, we are going to pull the slip knot through that right corner chain 2 space. You're going to yarn over And we're just doing a slip stitch through that space. And then we're going to chain 2. And this first stitch there counts as the first double crochet. Now you're going to go back into that same space again and complete the cluster. So you're going to do 2 more double crochets after that slip stitch chain 2. And then you're going to chain 2 between, and then do 3 more double crochets in that same corner space. So now we finish the first corner. This is what it looks like. Now in the third row, you're going to find that there's a middle chain 2 space now, which you didn't see in the first 2 rows. So in this middle chain 2 space, because there's the corner on the left, and then you finish the corner on the right, but now there's a chain 2 space in the middle. You're going to yarn over and do 3 double crochets into that center chain 2 space, because now there's a center chain 2 space. And I'm going to finish that, and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so now you're at the corner. So here, you're going to do that corner cluster, but first you chain 1. So anybody, do you know what's going to happen? So at the corner, you do the 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets in that corner chain 2 space. Okay, so we just finished the corner. We're going to go into that center space and do 3 double crochets into that after you chain 1. And that's 2. And that's 3. So that's what it looks like. So you're going to chain 1, and then you're going to end up back in another corner. So you have to do the 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet, chain 2 to do the corner piece. And I'm just going to illustrate that. And if you need to speed up the recording, you can do so. So we're just going to go, we're going to continue in sequence. So everywhere where there's a chain 2 space, you want to chain 1, and you want to, this one here, because it's in the center, we want to do the 3 double crochets. And then chain 1 at the end. And then you're back again at the next corner. And I'm just showing you what it looks like. So in that chain 2 space, we're going to do the corner cluster, which is 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets into the same chain 2 space in the corner. So now you're going to chain 1 and go into that chain 2 space. You're going to just do 3 double crochets and then chain 1. And then you're going to slip stitch to the end of the last corner there. So we finished the last before the corner. You just want to chain 1, then you want to slip stitch through the top chain of that first double crochet, and then just pull it through and slip stitch. There you go. And then you want to trim it here and then pull that yarn through to seal it so it doesn't unravel. Okay, so woohoo! That's row 3, and I'm just letting you take a look at it and see what it looks like. And like I said, I'm purposely leaving everything so you can see the ends and everything, how it comes together. But you see it's very, very square. And like I said, if you maintain your tension, it should look pretty decent. And a lot of times people, the granny squares get wobbly because, your tension's not maintained. And we can talk a little bit about that in further videos, but it's very important to maintain your tension. And then you usually don't have to block these if your tension's good. And there it is. Okay, so here's the comparison where we are versus where we're going, just so you can see. So now we're going to do the last row, which is white. And like I said, I really love granny squares when the last row is either white, off-white, or black. It's a nice uniform look. So there we go. So how do we start the last row? We're going to do that slip knot again. However you like to do it. I have a video talking about that if you need help. Hopefully you don't, but you see there's a lot of weaving in of ends that's going to have to take place. But we're going to go through that. I'm going through the right, I'm right-handed. Going through that right space. You're going to yarn over and just pull this through to start. And then I just take the end and just put it in the back. And I try to keep all the ends in one side. So we're going to chain 2. And we're going to do that cluster, or the corner cluster, which is the, you're going to do 2 more double crochets, chain 2, and then 3 double crochets. And that will complete the first corner. So we complete the first corner, and you're going to chain 1. Now you see there's a space in between the corners. And in this row, you're going to have 2 spaces between the corners. And those are the spaces where you have to do the 3 double crochets in chain 1. So this is the first one, 3 double crochets, chain 1. This is what it looks like. See right in there, you're going to do 3 double crochets, chain 1. And then as you progress out in each row, the next row is going to have 3 spaces in between. And then the next row will have 4 spaces in between the corners, and so on and so on. So as it gets bigger, that's what it's going to do. But you always will be able to look at the corners because you're going to see that it looks like a V shape in the granny square. And that's where you know to do the 3 double crochets, chain 2. And that's what we're doing here. 3 double crochets. All right, we just finished the corner. Now we're going to chain 1. And this is what it looks like so far. And we're going to do 3 double crochets in that chain 2 space there. I'm going to chain 1. I'm going to do 3 double crochets in that chain 2 space as well. Okay. Then you chain 1 after this. And this is what it looks like. And now you're going to do the corner, what I call the corner cluster. That gives you this kind of a butterfly shape or V shape with the cluster. And into that chain 2 space, you're going to do 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. So now you have that middle row, chain 2 space, so you're going to do 3 double crochets into that, and then chain 1. And then you're going to repeat that into the next chain 2 space. So you're going to do 3 double crochets, chain 1. And then it's going to get you to your corner. So at the corner, you're going to do the corner clusters after you chain 1. You're going to do 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. Okay, so I jumped a little bit ahead, but I'm coming up on the last chain 2 space before the corner. But you know the rest. You're going to do the 3 double crochets, chain 1. So we're coming up to the end here, and as soon as you finish your last 3 double crochets in the chain space, you want to slip stitch to the top of that 3rd double crochet. And then there it is. So congratulations, you've done your 4-row granny square. Let me know in the comments what you think. Please like, share, and subscribe. This is I Bring It Every Day. And my name is Kelly. And also, you can post on my community page on YouTube if you'd make some granny squares. I'd love to see them. So thanks again. Peace and love. And looks pretty good when you sew all the ends in, right? Okay. Take care.